What is up, YouTube? That's it here. We're back playing more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC team fixing. I'm super happy to work on today's team because it uses a Palafin, and this team is so close to being absolutely perfect. You could totally use this rental code. It works. It has dynamic speed control. It has redirections. It has good offensive and defensive types with a really cool mon. This is a great rental code, but this is also a perfect example of the type of team that we can take from like a diamond in the rough and just polish it up to be the best possible diamond I've ever seen in my life. So this is a really cool team. Again, this team was submitted on Patreon. You can check out the official Patreon team submission post. It's right here. This is from Christopher Williams. It says, "This is my attempt at building around a Palafin Scizor core. Those are the only two mons I'd like to make sure are on the final version of the team. Scizor, Palafin, Volcarona, Gengar are my sweepers with Amoonguss and Murkrow there for support. Sorry for the wait. Took a while to finish the team. It took them a while to get the rental code up, but you know, that's one of the reasons why I waited to use this team. It's a really cool team. I really like how deliberate they are with how they picked their mons. I really like how they knew that they wanted sweepers, they knew they wanted redirection, they knew they wanted support mons. It's so cool to see people actually proactively thinking on how they want to solve these teams. If we take a look at the defensive coverage, very solid. Nothing's going into the 3-4 category. There's good switch-ins for most types. We might want to cover up a little bit for the flying and rock, but that's something we can definitely mitigate because we have to think about what uses those rock and flying attacks and how we can best check those Pokemon. And last but not least, the real thing that we want to be polishing up here are going to be the EVs. You can see this Gengar doesn't even have a nature. It's a 252 squad. Amoonguss can be moved around just a little bit. Murkrow can, again, needs a nature and, you know, to use the rest of its EVs. Palafin looks okay on paper, but there's definitely things that we can be fixing, in my opinion. Volcarona, 2v2 squad, nothing really wrong with that. And then the Scizor, this is one of my older Scizor sets. I think this can definitely be optimized. So there's a few things in the EV department that needs work, but what we're going to do first is just play some games with this team. Hopefully they just didn't fill out the pace right. Hopefully the Gengar and the Murkrow have natures. We'll check that when we get into the games, but I think on paper this team has everything required to win. We're just going to have to make some slight changes, and we'll know exactly what those changes are after a couple games. So we're going to hop into the games. Wish me luck. Here we go. Okay, so the first thing I want to check is if these guys actually have natures and they just forgot it in the Poke Paste. That happens all the time. Looks like the Murkrow is a careful nature, which is good. And the Gengar would be Casper the Gengar. What mount? If you guys want to hear more about Casper, I have a skateboarding channel where I learned how to do Caspers. You know, check that out. Link in the description. Let's see, this is timid. So good. So at least they have natures, that's fine. Let's see, Sand. Sand with Dozo Bozo. I think that's the Scarf Annihilate set, because I think I've seen this team before. This is where something like Murkrow could be really good, going with like a big rain dance just to take away the weather. I don't know if we technically have to. I do think Amoonguss is very good, or I think something like Amoonguss Palafin with a pivot into like Scizor is really good. And then we need one mon to like basically be the pivot that we want to bring in. I guess you would be, normally we'd want to be bringing Amoonguss in that situation, but I actually want to lead Amoonguss. Do I like Volk here? It's okay. Gengar's also okay. It's hard to say exactly what I want to do on this last spot. I'm not a big fan of the Gengar. I'm also not a big fan of the Volk against most of these. Just not a fan. I don't think we need... Does this guy have Haze on the Murkrow? It does have Haze. That actually changes how we play the matchup completely. So if that's going to be the matchup, we just lead these two with this in the back. Good play. Cool. I didn't know I had haste. Hopefully we got ourselves locked in correctly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what I get for having to go into the menus. See, that's another reason why, like, you gotta sim with these Poke Paste like the right way. It's so important to actually do that correctly, so I don't have to waste the first half of the team preview going and checking natures. Yeah, we'll see. I think I got him locked in correctly. T-Tar, this is absolutely fine. Palafin, Murkrow. This is good. I actually don't think I have to switch, which is kind of crazy. Like, I can just go for Jet Punch. Like, yes, I know that you want to use, like, the switch out to come in 0 to hero, but, like, we can just dumpster one of these guys. Like, easy peasy. Let's realistically think about it. If we were to Rain Dance, it's kind of, it's almost as effective as Terra. I think that you can just switch in the Scizor here and go for... Because this will activate the guy for next turn. I think that you can just go for a Tailwind and let it get KO'd to the double Rock Slide, and then we bring in back out Palafin. That's probably fine. And then we'll have Palafin Scizor on our board. If they miss any of these, this is great. We also have heavy HP defense Murkrow, so we're probably fine here. This is where if I had Flip Turn on this set, I might want to go like Tailwind Flip Turn or Rain Dance Flip Turn, but you know, we just don't have it. And we got to remember, like, that Lycanroc has to be sashed, so we're going to have to do something to get that guy off the board. So, like, next turn, what we're going to be doing is bringing out Scizor, and we're going to go, like, Bullet Punch plus Jet Punch into the Lycanroc spot. Surprised to see Flying Terror here. They don't technically have to do that. It's fine with me. Tailwind's good. I think it's better than just slowly going for, like, a Foul Play in the Lycanroc. You know, there's good and bad things to be said about either, but, you know, now we can actually fight these things. If they miss this Rock Slide on Murkrow, okay, I was going to say, if they miss, we would have been fine. But Scizor doesn't really need to care that much. And now we can just come in with Palafin. And I think we're okay. Scizor, I'm just not a big fan of that T-Tar that takes all that damage. I'm just not the biggest fan. So we got the Palafin here. Palafin does not outspeed, but we basically wanted the Tailwind up so we can go for, like, other pivots. The Scizor really does need U-turn. That's one of the reasons why I wish we actually led the Scizor. I think we can just get away with going with this, though. Bullet Punch. Jet Punch, and then the plan is for the rest of the match to probably, you know, we might as well just tear this guy. Jet Punch is still so strong. This guy's going to be sashed. It's going to be sashed. If it's not sashed, for some reason, I think this rental does use the sash. We'll just have to go for, well, it would redirect our Scizor's Bullet Punch because the Palafin's a lot faster. But let's see what they want to do. If they want to protect Lycanroc and Rock Slide to KO our Scizor, that is the correct play for them in this situation. But, yeah, let's see. Let's see what they want to do. Palafin's pretty thick, and we do have a Amoonguss. If we actually go back and take a look at the Amoonguss set here, you can see the Amoonguss does have, like, Pollen Puff. So after they KO the Scizor this turn, we're going to be able to bring in the Palafin. They're going to be protecting to wait out my Tailwind turns, and we're going to be absolutely fine. Looks like no protects happen, so this Jet Punch is going off. Big damage. It's always sashed there. And we're able to go for a Bullet Punch here to finish off. Hopefully they're not, like, a Cell Rocking our Scizor or something. Awesome. So Scizor's probably going down to a Rock Slide here, but that's absolutely fine. I also don't think that you need to ever, like, lock yourself into Wave Crash. I'm not a big fan of Wave Crash on a lot of these big sweepers, and a lot of people using, like, Rage or Wave Crash on things like Palafin and Dozo. I'm personally not a fan of that. I think the recoil on these guys is just too significant, but that is, again, just my opinion. You know, Jet Punch is fine. I think it probably gets Waterfall or Liquidate. You know, I'd rather actually Waterfall with this T-Tar because, like, the flinch would be really, really significant. So the Amoonguss comes in here. The Amoonguss's Terra is to Poison. It should definitely be tearing to a different type. I probably would have saved my Terra to be, like, a defensive type in this situation. But here's the Amoonguss. Is it going to be Dozo? Because Dozo would tell us that it's Tatsu. It's going to be... Alright, cool. It's Dozo. So, yeah, there's 3 or 4 different things we can do here. I don't think there's a problem with just sporing that slot. And we're locked into Jet Punch. Like, we are just locked into that Jet Punch. I'll Jet Punch the T-Tar. It's probably pivoting in the Tatsu. I don't know what they're going to be doing with the... Yeah, let's see how this goes. Let's just see how it works. Pivoting out T-Tar for Tatsu, and then let's see who they're hitting. Because if we can actually put the Dozo to sleep, the Amoonguss basically just wins the game. Let's see if they're actually going for, like, an Order Up into Palafin, if they can even get the KO into it. This is where, if I was using this Palafin and I Protect, that'd be great. You would definitely just be Protect sporing this turn. So there's the boosts. And there's no reason to just Jet Punch the Dozo, in my opinion. Absolutely no reason. So Jet Punch is going to whiff. And let's see. Order up into the Palafin. Yeah, I mean, into the top. You know what I mean. And we're not dead yet. There's still a couple more turns on Sand. But we can go this turn. We don't actually even have to go for, like, anything spectacular. They have to be asleep that turn. So what we're going to be able to do is just... it'd be really nice to go for a... Let's think about this. We'll get the turns on Sandstorm, because, like, we're going to have to get a Pollen Pup off. But we know they're going to be asleep this turn. I kind of want to Pollen Pup this turn, but, like, if I Clear Smog them this turn, that'd be great, too. Turns on Sandstorm are 2. So there's only one more tick of Sandstorm. I won't actually take. I only take 7 hit points every time. So we can get away with our Clear Smog here. And just go for a raw Jet Punch. This is going to do not that much damage this first turn, but after we take away the boosts, we will be doing good damage. So yeah, that doesn't do anything at all like this turn, but this Clear Smog is going to make it so Dozo loses all of its boosts. And again, as long as we get more than, like, a 1-turn sleep... Oh yeah, Sleep Talk! I was very surprised to see that. Very surprised. EQ, we are the unluckiest person I've ever seen in my life. We are the unluckiest person. They actually Sleep Talk into the only move that won them the game there. We were absolutely fine in that situation. Absolutely, positively, 1000% fine. But they sleep talked into EQ. So their sets rest, sleep talk, order up, EQ. That has to be their set. They don't have a water attack. So we are probably going to have to take this L. And again, this is where situations like, you know, if we go take a look at Amoonguss, you're starting to see the slight holes this team has. There's no protect. 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 And so that's why something like this, we had to play the game at the tempo that that team set. And, you know, it's going to be an L. What you need, I'm not saying that protect's like 1000% required, but, you know, in that situation last turn where we actually took all of our damage to the order up, it would have been much better to just protect the Palafin, or yeah, protect the Palafin, Spore, and then even if they got the Sleep Talk, EQ, or order up, we still would have been able to soak that damage, get off our Clear Smog. You get one Clear Smog off and you win the game. One Clear Smog, the game's absolutely over. So, unfortunate loss in this one, but hopefully you can see the changes I was talking about. Like, there's not really a reason to have this many aggressive sets without protect, and maybe it's coming from like a singles mentality, but you just don't need to be that aggressive. Covering up for that many, you know, options offensively without the use of protect is not really the way to solve the matchups. There's some matchups where you actually have to play really, really patiently, and this is another matchup where you actually, if you want to use the Palafin and actually activate 0 to hero, you have to play it really, really patiently, and the only way to do that is to actually use protect. So hopefully you understood. I took that loss for you. I took that loss for you, the viewers, to understand that like defensive pivoting is really, really important. You know, if we're going to talk about like the slight changes that I'd already know that I wouldn't be making, like we need U-turn here. The way this team's going to work is you pivot out the Palafin, right, through the use of like flip turn or something, and you U-turn with Scissor. So what you actually do is Palafin switches out, goes into the back, Scissor U-turns, and brings the Palafin right back out immediately. Like you're ready, good to go. That's what this team should be doing. Also, we want to potentially even be able to weave in eject button mons, so you can hard switch out the Palafin and not have to U-turn with Scissor, switch into something that has you know, different defensive type in the Palafin. So Palafin's weak against things like grass and electric. Amoonguss, pretty good mon that you might be able to think about pivoting in with an eject button. They hit that. They have to hit the Amoonguss. Amoonguss switches back out, gets a regenerator proc to soak any damage that it took there, and you bring your Palafin out immediately, right there, ready to go. You have a Murkrow with like Tailwind support / like Rain Dance. Like, you are amazing in that situation. So hopefully you can understand like these sort of learning curves, and we're just gonna go into another game. We're gonna go into one more game and see if we can win with the team that we have now. Maybe we might want to use a little bit of the Gengar to understand its role in the team just a little bit better. Gastrodon against the Palafin guy. That is gonna be a hard sell for us. That is going to be hard. We don't really have that many grass attacks. I actually think Giga Drain on Volcarona is actually really good. I think you can still technically bring Amoonguss first a lot of this. Let's see. I think Gengar's going to be great. I think Gengar Murkrow is probably a decent lead because you can just Tailwind up over things like the Pult. It forces them to go their own Murkrow. And if that's the case, we can just like pivot out their Gengar. It'd be nice if we had Protect, right? And just foul play the Pult. And so that's the idea here. I don't think Palafin's the right play at all, just because that Gastro is going to be so hard to get off the board. I think Scizor can still definitely come. And this is where I think you can think about going with Volcarona. Volcarona just wasn't that great in the last one because they had the Sand Core and the Dozo Core and the Annihilate. But in this one, I think Volcarona can definitely get some work done. I think Volcarona is an underrated mon in this format. Aggressive Rage Powder users like Vivillon, like Scovillain, like Volcarona, they're still really, really good. You don't always have to have that bulky defensive redirection mon. You can sometimes think about using an aggressive one in certain situations, and definitely the tempo that this team's trying to play, the aggressive redirection mon is a little bit better. So that's the exact lead that we talked about, the exact lead that we talked about in this situation. I was able to analyze the lead correctly, know that their only thing that they really had to check us was like trading Tailwinds and then abusing Speed Tears with the Dragapult. What we're going to do here is we're going to hope that their special Dragapult, we're actually going to let them Tailwind first and just foul play. This is where if I had Protect Gengar, I would be using Protect. And then one of the reasons why we're letting them get Tailwind control is because they can't taunt us back with their Prankster Murkrow because we're also a Dark type, and then we can Tailwind after, right, to have a longer Tailwind for a later period of time. This is where Protect would be absolutely amazing, but we have to take a little bit of damage on our Scizor, which I'm not a big fan of. Like, realistically, not a big fan of this. This is not a good play. This is where something like Protect would be absolutely massive because we still have to maintain board presence. They also have to respect things like Quash. So I wonder if they're just going to open up no Tailwind either, just go for a Quash. It's another good option on Murkrow. So they go for the Tailwind, absolutely fine. Let's see if they set like Lolas for screens. Draco Meteor into a Scizor slot. So it's special. Unfortunate, Dragapult still has a pretty high base attack stat. So unless there's 0 IV, this is still going to do a lot. Yeah, almost enough to KO. Puts it within the BP range though. And so now we could Tailwind here. We still don't have to though. We still absolutely do not have to do it. This is where if I'd protect Scizor, I'd also be like thinking about protecting my Scizor here. Don't want to haze. They probably have the haze, so we have to bullet punch there. And like I don't need to Tailwind yet. I'm actually gonna foul play into the Murkrow. I know it sounds really weird and very, very passive, but I think it is the right play. Protect Pull. I want to see if they're hazing. We actually want to wait out this Tailwind like as long as possible. I want to see if they're foul playing my Scizor. Foul play Scizor. Yep, it shouldn't KO. Wow. That's surprising that it actually KO'd. Very not great for us. Foul play into the slot though. It's good. So we can Tailwind here and trade Tailwinds with them and start being a bit of a bully. This is where Quiver would be kind of nice. I think I might just send out the Volk. And I'm not really that afraid. We also have like a Wiki Berry if we need it. So like we can restore some health. This is another situation where like a Citrus Berry is going to be always better than Wiki. You want to usually use your Citrus first, but you also have a bunch of other defensive items you'd rather use first as well. So we can think about going for a Tailwind here. We're not really going to be Terra anything else. We don't... Oh, Grass Terra is weird for not having Terra Blast. You know, I talked about using like... I like Giga Drain in this set, but you know, you don't even have it. This is the only mon on the team with Protect. That's fine. We'll just go for Heat Wave. Hopefully we can get the Murkrow off the board. I doubt it. Withdraw their Murkrow. Cool. This is Heat Wave. This is big damage here. So who wants to take it? It's fine. This is where, again, Bug Buzz is going to be absolutely amazing. This is their last turn of Tailwind, so they're going to want to reapply their Tailwind in just a sec. They can go for a Fade Away Draco, a Surf to Policy Proc or to activate the Gastron Storm Drain. Very, very cool tech. I like that a lot. This is also a -2 Pult. That's really, really cool. I like that tech a lot. I'm glad that we hit though. I'm glad that we took the Pult off the board. We can haze the boosts away from that Gastro if we have to. Let's see, though, what we want to get done. We still have Gengar in the back, and Gengar is a good mon to actually trade with versus Gastro. So actually, it all depends on what this next mon is. If they send the Murkrow out, that's really, really passive. We would probably Terra Grassing here just defensively, and then we'll see what we want to take out. I might Heat Wave again. Murkrow. Why would they send Murkrow out here? Like, what does Murkrow add to the table? Brave Bird, I guess? But like Brave Bird wouldn't be on that sort of set. Foul Play is really, really low energy here. It's very, very weak, but it is what it is. We already got the Tailwind up. We're just going to go for big damage. It'd be nice if we had Grass Terra here, but, you know, there's nothing we can really do. Bug Buzz is good, though. Bug Buzz is good damage. I want to see if they have Quash. I could see Quash being good here. We could have technically hazed away that first boost, too. I don't think it's that worth it. I think the 10%, 15% I'll get from the Foul Play will still be value. Like, Gastron has a decent special, or sorry, decent attack. It's probably like 70, 65 maybe. I can check it. What do you guys think it is? What do you guys take a guess? What is Gastrodon base special attack or Gastrodon base physical attack? Gastrodon has a base 83 attack. That is higher than I thought. And they're fire tearing our bug. Oh, see, like never lucky. They go for a taunt. They're trying to stop Quiver. That's bad. I mean, that's good and bad. I mean, Volk's useless here, but let's see if they have like Recover on that set too. Let's see if they have a Citrus. That does a good amount of damage, yeah. Icy Wind. It's totally fine. So Gengar can actually finish that thing off. Oh my gosh, that's so much damage. That's so much damage. They're probably thinking they can Tailwind here to outspeed now. They're gonna have to re-Tailwind. I can haze away these boosts. I think that it's probably right to haze. We don't have any moves that can actually hit that Gastro here. I think you actually just want to go Protect and... I'm going to go Protect and Foul Play. Because I think they're going to go for one more of those. I don't think... Murkrow would get KO'd though. It definitely would get KO'd if I don't haze. I'm running out of Tailwind turns as well. We're still faster. We're not. I need to do it like that. Otherwise, you're going to do too much damage to me. We go for a Heat Wave here to start putting damage on the Murkrow. So this takes away the special attack boost and our speed drops. It's a good haze here. We're going to trade Tailwinds. That means we still have speed. Nice that we hit. Very good to hit on that Murkrow. I'd love a burn on the Murkrow. Icy Wind again. Now, I think we lose the Murkrow here. Oh, we don't. Ooh. This is where also I've always been a big fan of saying on your Tailwind setters, you want to have Protect so you can protect the last turn of your Tailwind to then reapply it correctly. This is where we get that Wiki Berry boost, boys. It's so good. Okay, you have the right nature too. Okay, cool. We can actually just go for a Foul Play here. And I think you still Heat Wave. Heat Wave miss on the Murkrow would lose us the game, I think. But I think you have to Heat Wave. Top play. Ooh, I'm surprised how fast they are. Surprised how fast they are. That's gonna be really bad. Okay. We should still outspeed their Gastro, obviously. Yeah, we want to get their... Getting our Murkrow off the board is the big thing. Like, we can take the L on our Bulk slot. I don't know if what they have Terra Blast? Probably Terra Blast, yeah. And then it's going to be up to Gengar to win. I don't think Gengar wins. I think the last one's Bisharp. So let's see what happens. They made the right play going after our Murkrow too. That Icy Wind tech was really, really good. Icy Wind on that Gastro was good, so it's like Icy Wind, Terra Blast. Like, it looks to be a vested Gastro. My team Tailwind peters out. Like, we are sad here. But let's see. If it's Bisharp, it's game. It's Medicham. That actually could still get us the win. Because Medicham can't... They're thinking they have a Fake Out pin here. They don't. They already Terra. Like, we can just Dazzling Gleam here. Double tap with the Dazzling Gleam. Sludge Wave. I think they took Sludge Wave away from Gengar. That's such a nerf. Yeah, just go for the Dazzling Gleam. If it's a Scarf Medicham, maybe we'll lose. Because, like, oh, Zen Headbutt, they're going to try and flinch. They still have a Tailwind up right now. But we can Curse Body a Scarfmon. There's the Sash. We can actually just KO a Medicham. Oh, we get flinched. GG. Correct us. RNG, baby. Never lucky. That's me. Oh, man. It's just an unlucky, unlucky day. I will say that, like, most of the losses that this team has got is basically just down to not having enough defensive synergy. We don't have really that many good pivots. Only one of our Mons have Protect. And so hopefully you can understand the changes that we're going to be making is going to be making so the team isn't like a race to the finish team. We don't have to win the game within 2 turns. We can actually play the game at our own tempo, use Protects correctly, analyze the situation, and use our speed controls instead of having to lock ourselves into like choiced priority moves from something like Palafin. Let's see, this guy's team, that Vaporeon basically just says, like, that's another reason why, like, Choice Band on the Palafin's, like, not very good. Because we need the choice of we need the ability to hit other things with other types. And the Water Absorb there just really gives us a hard time. Grim is also a bit of a problem here. Scissor's okay. I wish we had U-Turn, because we could just U-Turn versus Entity. I think I'm still going to lead Scizor. And again, that Entity Male, Psychic Surge maybe, so we can't just use priorities at all either. I think what we're going to do is go, like... I actually don't hate these two, but I know that we want to try and use Palafin. Maybe we'll just let them get Trick Room. Which I don't recommend. And what would they be leading? Like, let's say I wanted to lead Gengar. Would Gengar be good here? Like, I could probably just get away with going, like, Gengar and something. That's fine. We'll just go, this guy. And I guess I will bring the Gengar. It's not terrible. But, like, I could probably stop the Trick Room if I really wanted to. But that wouldn't be using Palafin at all. That wouldn't be giving the team... That wouldn't be using the team the way it was submitted to be used, you know? A lot of people that, like, do team fixing on YouTube kind of, like, yeah, they give you, like, a core of, like, all right, here's your new core. It's like Goldengo, Garchomp, Murkrow, you know, here it's fixed, you know? And they don't really highlight what the team's supposed to be doing. So we're trying our best to actually play the team correctly. That Grim can go for Fake Out. It can go for Screens. We could have led something like Gengar and... maybe even something else to be able to deal with that, because Gengar still could have potentially poisoned the Hatterene, which means even if they do get up Trick Room, they don't really get anything out of it. This is where U-Turn would be absolutely amazing. We are going to go for the Bullet Punch, but we're actually going to be Bullet Punching the Grimmsnarl. I want that thing off the board, and we're just going to be pivoting in the Amoonguss to be able, so even after they get up the Trick Room, we're still going to have a potential chance to, you know, be a bully. Another thing about this Amoonguss too is its Terra type is to Poison. That's probably one of the worst Terra types to have. Just because you still have that Psychic weakness, and you want to, if anything, you want to be Terra Dark to be able to avoid the Prankster. They got that slot's correct. They know that we were probably switching. They get the free Trick Room. There's nothing we can really do about it. But what we're gonna be able to do is go for a Spore into the Grim. Hopefully, another reason why Terra Dark would be good to be able to block that Prankster. Just go for a Bullet Punch into the Hat. We're hoping right now that the Hat is not. We're hoping that the Hat is not Sash, but it should be. Another thing to note about this Amoonguss is that whenever you're using Amoonguss, you need to be 0 speed reduced. The fact that we have 31 points here in speed means that there's like no way in hell that we can underspeed this Hat, even if the Hat's made wrong. Hat has a 1 less base speed than Amoonguss, so like, but if they had 31, if they didn't have a 0 IV1 and we did, we'd underspeed them. We can't outspeed them, or sorry, we can't underspeed them. There's like nothing we can possibly do in this situation, so we're just gonna go for the Spore into the Grim. Hopefully they pivot. Another thing that I like doing with Amoonguss is making it Iron Ball too, but this team definitely wouldn't use that. So let's see what they're tearing into. Do you have Terra Fire? Like, I can't do anything about it. Yeah, there's absolutely 0 things this team can do. We have no Protects. we have redirections into Pokemon that have the same weaknesses. Like, there's nothing to do. The reflect happens. We're able to put the Grim to sleep, which is nice. And then, like, I guess we can come with something. Like, this breaks Sash, you know? I mean, there is value to be had here. Dark Pulse. Cool. I mean, the fact that they're not getting KOs and they're orbed, that's actually good that they're orbed. We take that. And for everyone asking, why don't you spore the Hatterene? The Hatterene has magic bounce. So we actually don't spore that. That doesn't do it. We could redirect, though, here and go for a pounce into it or a close combat. That would do a lot of damage. I don't know if I actually really want to, though. Like, pounce is cool, but it'd be really cool to read the protect and pounce Mount Amoonguss to be able to underspeed. That'd be kind of sick. There's nothing we really have here, man. There's not that much. Go for that. We're going to try and switch in Palafin and, like, maybe try and wait out some of this stuff. They should just go back and, like, double into the Scizor slot, but hopefully they go for, like, a Terra Blast into this thing. I wonder if they even have Terra Blast. Like, Dark Pulse is a weird plan on Hatterene as well. Jet Punch would be able to do a lot. They're probably going to be pivoting in the Indity. Oh, did I Terra? I didn't want to Terra. What the hell did I Terra into? I was just goofing around, bro. That was an accident. This is a mistake. I literally shouldn't have done that. That was not the move that I wanted to do at all. That really, really, really sucks. That's probably going to lose this set. I mean, I hope that they Terra Blast into the Palafin slot. That was the idea. Psychic into that slot. That's fine. Yeah, so we're almost dead, but not dead. All right, so the idea here is they're not switching in Indity. They're not going to switch in the Indity, and we're just going to go all in on the Grim. Or, you know what I mean. We're gonna do damage to the Grim here. This should take out Hat. If they pivot in the Indity, we lose. But, like, oh my gosh, that was such a misplay. I didn't mean to Terra, man. I did not. Good damage here. Let's see if the Grim wakes up. Looks like he's not using a priority move. Hat goes down. That's great. That Grim can wake up and kill one of our mons, but then we can repin with a second priority move there if they don't have Indity. Now wake up. Oh my god, I've gotten only one turn sleeps this whole game, I feel. Spirit Break, I'm surprised that KO'd. I'm actually surprised that KO'd. The cool thing about this, though, is there a cool thing? We don't have Protect on anything. I guess you just go Gengar here. Because Gengar at least could, like, make it so if the Torkoal goes for Eruption, because they're going to send out Torkoal here. When they go for Falapple, that's weird. They already Terra'd, like, I don't think that matters. We just Sludge Bomb that thing. But yeah, if the Torkoal wanted to hit our Gengar, it would activate our Curse Body, and if they're Specs, they would be stuck struggling. Last turn Trick Room, if we have Protect here, this is where we'd use it. Just gonna go for Sludge Bomb. Dazzling Gleam's also a good play, but I'd rather lock myself into the Sludge Bomb, I think. Or not lock, I mean, we're not locking in anything, but it's still the right play to do that. Go for a Jet Punch here. See if they pivot. They might go for a Light Screen and like a big damage move here. With the, yeah, there's a Light Screen. Absolutely fine. Remember, they underspeed us. This is Trick Room, so while we're both using priority moves, we both have a +1. They're underspeeding its Trick Room up. So we take out the Grim. That's great. Happy to have that. And let's see how much damage they take from this. This is a 30% chance to poison as well, which is very, very good. I can't believe we wasted that Terra. Oh, man, because, like, I definitely would think about doing a couple different things here. Sludge Bomb's great damage here. Great damage. 30% chance poison. No luck, no luck. But we do outspeed them now, and now we can just go Dazzling Gleam. I want to see if it's Torkoal here. We do outspeed Torkoal. Surprised I didn't send that out. Realistically, I'm very surprised I didn't send Torkoal out. Torkoal's there. Like, it's there. Like, we know it's there. Alright, so we should be able to spore this. This is one advantage of using a faster Amoonguss, is we can spore a Torkoal outside of the Trick Room. So in this case scenario, we can just open up with the Dazzling Gleam and go with the Spore. We should be able to get this, unless, like, something weird happens. So Protect here, absolutely fine. They're trying to buy time. If that Torkoal's fast and they KO our Amoonguss, like, I can't do anything about that, but, you know, it shouldn't be, you know? It definitely shouldn't be. Awesome, cool. So again, we got one turn sleep on the Grim. Hopefully we get more than one turn sleep on the Torkoal as well. And, you know, Gengar still has its Sash, right? We're still in a good spot. So we should be able to get this one, but hopefully you can understand how it's easier to pilot these teams when... It's easier to pilot them when you have Protects to lean back on. Like, we have no way to actually pivot with this team, and so what we're going to be doing now is taking a look at fixing the team, giving it some pivots, fleshing out its defensive types just a little bit more. I think we might be able to keep all the Mons on this team and still make it work. But after that, we're going to play some games with it as well. So this is your reminder to drop a like if you haven't yet. And hopefully you like the next team building section. So let's just hop into that. Okay, so as you can see, there's only one Mon on our team that has Protect. It's Volcarona. It's a good set. Like Volcarona, aggressive Volk is really good. I don't think we need the double Rage Powder, but I understand the reasoning behind it. You know, you want to go all in with things like Hero Palafin, and then once one of those is set, you just sit back and relax with a Rage Powder user. Like, it's a good set. But what we're going to be doing now is taking a look at all of the EVs and actually fixing the team. Let's start with this Scizor. I think Scizor is really, really cool. I don't think you need a clear amulet in this format. Yes, Intimidate does matter, but like you literally have a Haze user right here. So you don't need to really worry about Intimidate. If they're cycling Intimidates on you, you can just haze it away. So it gives us the freedom to use something else if we really want to. I actually really am a fan of defensive items on Scizor like Citrus Berry and Leftovers. I think Leftovers on Scizor is actually a very, very good defensive item and allows us to actually, you know, Terra defensively to a potential different type. Weave in those Leftovers value, like Water Terra Scizor is really good. There's a couple other types on Scizor that are great too. I also think that you can take away a lot of these moves on the Scizor. I think Protect is definitely the move that you want the most because you can weave in Leftovers every other turn. You also are going to definitely want something like a U-turn. U-turn, I already talked about it. This is how you're going to make the team work. What we're going to do is hard switch out your Palafin, U-turn with your Scizor to immediately bring out your Palafin. To do that, there's a couple things we want to actually be doing. We actually want a slow Scizor. We do not want any speed on the Scizor. We want Scizor to go slow. We want Scizor to rely on the fact that it can get things like Bullet Punch to actually gain its speed control, and then U-turn as slow as possible. This also low-key helps in the Trick Room matchup as well. So like a speed reduce 0 speed Scizor is actually going to be really, really good. This last move slot, you can make this almost anything you want. The move that I like here, Brick Break, is a really, really good move. Let's talk about a couple other ones. Sometimes Iron Defense can be seen as a really, really good move. Terra Blast is probably what we're going to go with, though. I like the Terra Blast here. So this is the coverage, and we're going to change the Scizor's Terra type a little bit later. We're going to finish up the EVs as well. Volcarona's okay. I don't have a problem with the Volk. You definitely want the Citrus over the Wiki. You want to use your Citrus first just because it activates at an earlier percentage, which means if you're getting doubled up on, this will guarantee activate, or Wiki only activates if you're right about to get KO'd in the 25% range. This moveset's also okay. I don't really have a problem with it. I think Volk can be optimized. I think if you want to use a different Mon, the fact that Volcarona shares a big flying weakness to the Amoonguss and they're both your only Rage Powder users, I think you'd be better off using something like maybe a Ceruledge here or an Armor Rouge with like taking out the Gengar for like an Indity, so you have a little bit more Trick Room options. Again, I don't really want to change the team that much because, you know, these are shiny Pokemon you like. You probably went well out of your way to get them. We can definitely make the Volk work. But something like a Flash Firemon would be really, really good here because you're using Amoonguss and Scizor, and a Flash Firemon that doesn't really share that same flying weakness with Amoonguss would be a great option. So that's just something that I was thinking about. You can also think about even just using just the Flash Firemon and maybe changing Gengar to a different Follow Me or Redirection user. But Volk definitely works. There's nothing wrong with the 252 set in my opinion. 252 is still a really, really good number on this guy because you want to be as fast as possible. There's a ton of fast base 100 speed Mons. If you actually take a look at the meta and break it down by speed, you can see there's so many Mons that are base 100. So like Chiyu's not legal, but like Palafin, Salamence, Slacking, Staraptor, all the Tauros forms, Toedscruel. Like there's so many base 100 Mons, and you don't want to get outsped by a Staraptor. You don't want to get outsped by a Salamence. You want to force those guys to speed tie you. Also, by going base 100, you're going to guarantee outspeed Hydreigons, guarantee outspeed Haxorus, guarantee outspeed Arcanines, Entity Males, stuff like that. So I think the base 100, I think this is fine. This is like a secondary aggressive redirector. We talked a little bit about that as well, how it's still a good tech. The Palafin, let's go into this. You do not need to be choice banned on this guy. The choice ban is what's actually holding this guy back, in my opinion, just because we walk into one move and it's just the wrong move. It doesn't matter what the move is, it's just not the right one. I think realistically, the set that I like on Palafin is going to be vested. I like Assault Vest Palafin. You can also think about putting Protect, but you definitely want that flip turn. Like, this is the move that actually makes this guy work. You can still tech the Ice Punch to be able to tech those dragons if you want. You definitely still want the, you know, let's just start sort of a physical. So physical here. And you still want the, what's that? The good move that it gets, right? What's that good move? The Jet Punch, right? You still want the Jet Punch. And then this last spot can be 4 or 5 different things. I'm a fan of the Drain Punch here. This is just how I like to play this Pokemon. I also don't think you need nearly as much speed. Because there's no reason to have speed on your Scizor and your Palafin, because you're playing it in Tailwind. You don't need it. You do not need it. This is base 100 Mon, so all you need to do with the base 100 Mon is let's go to a damage calculator and plug this in. So let's put in Palafin. All you really need to do is plug in Palafin Hero, because that's the set that we're going to be using the most, and see what that actually outspeeds. Remember, if we go sort things by like speed tiers, you can do that again by just going to the random Pokemon Showdown thing or sorting it by speed. See what you need to outspeed. You want to see what is popular that you're outspeeding. You might want to outspeed Electrode if you're afraid of it, but Dragapult's the fastest thing that you're realistically going to see. By proxy, if you outspeed Dragapult, you're also going to outspeed Talonflame, you're also going to outspeed Kilowatt, you're also going to speed like Weavile, Meowscarada, all those things. So outspeeding Dragapult is what we want to do. So we want to plug in a Dragapult here. So Dragapult, and we go down. And we always want to make our own sets. I think the making your own set part is the real important thing. You don't just want to outspeed the sets that other people make just because you don't really know what those sets are made for. So Dragapult, if you set it to level 50, because the VGC is always set to level 50, gets a 213, and we want to be able to outspeed that with a Tailwind boost. So we can Ice Punch it. So if we just go for a Tailwind right here, guaranteed, we already outspeed it. We don't need to have any points in speed. We don't need a single one. Another thing that we can actually take a look at is the Gengar has Icy Wind, so we can actually take a look at what our +1 speeds would do. And 180 is a really, really good speed stat to be at. 180, if we actually see what 180 is, 180 outspeeds base 110s, which go to 178. So there's also a good amount of like 110s. This is going to let us outspeed other Gengars, things like Frostlasses, Espeons, Lycanrocs, and things like that. So it's really, really good to still outspeed those things at +1, and the +1 would come from -1ing your opponent from an Icy One on the Gengar. So realistically, we don't need any speed. We can put 4 in there because we want to speed creep things that are already speed creeping those things specifically, but we don't really need it. As far as what we want to do with the rest of the set, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with maxing that HP, and we just want to flesh out the rest of the EVs on this guy. I don't think we need to actually have like a ton of attack. I think that realistically, we're going to be taking a look at this thing in 2 different forms, the Zero and the Hero form. But something like this, like an Adamant 100 base with like, I would go probably like a 60, 92. And the reason we're going to go, we want the 92, we want as much SPDF as possible on this sort of set, just because we have a vest, and remember the vest gives us a 1.5 boost to our special defense, so we're going to get matched for that. But the defense, the 60 defense, we're still taking a look at the Palafin Zero Hero, right? Let's just take a look at against like Pult, for example, because that's what we're looking at. Let's give Pult like a 252. Let's give it like Dragon Darts and not Dragon Dance, Dragon Darts. We're gonna show you the reason why you want that 60 there. So Dragon Darts here, and let's give it like a Choice Band. So in this situation, you see Choice Band does a lot to us. If we go full HP though, we definitely still get out of range. If they were to Dragon Terra, they're still getting really, really close to taking us out. So if they were to add like a helping hand onto that, they would still definitely get the KO. But let's take away some of these. Let's take away some of these. Maybe I knew the helping hand. Helping hand's way too much damage. Let's look at it like, for example, basically what I want to show you guys is that you throw off your opponent's calcs by about 5% by putting just 60 points in something. That throws it by 6%. So a standard Pult, like maybe they're Adamant Pult, and they would have gotten that KO if it was from a Choice Band, Dragon Terra, Dragon Darts. And that would have definitely gotten the KO. It looks like about 25% chance for them to get the KO. Versus like, if we just put 60 there, it throws their calcs by about 6%, and they just don't get the KO. So if you're looking for like numbers to put in your defenses to throw off your opponent's calcs just a little bit, this is it. Like, for example, there's nothing wrong with this Pult. Like, they might actually be calcing Adamant, Dragon Darts with the Dragon Terra, and they know that that's a double dip of like, let's say it's single target, so they're blowing both hits into the Palafin. They know that's a KO on a 252 HP, 252 attack Palafin. This set lives that and super punishes back, while also having the correct amount of speed, while also having the correct amount of attack, while also having the correct amount of special defense. So it's basically functioning the same way as like a very, very bulky set and a very, very aggressive set, while covering for a bunch of different other weaknesses at the same time. So it just spreads the wealth of EVs around just a little bit more. As for the Murkrow, we talked a little bit about it. I actually think Murkrow is going to be way better built with a Life Orb. I think realistically, if you want to be aggressive with your Murkrows, you need to be Life Orbing it. And the set that I've shown time and time again, it's basically the best way to play Murkrow if you're going to be playing Murkrow is things like this. Brave Bird, and I like Sucker Punch here. So this is one of the other things that we have to like check Pulse and check other aggressive mons. Like Sucker Punch is great. This is good damage. You can haze away Dozos. You can technically cut the Protect for Tailwind if you want to use it. It's nice having Protect on your Tailwind setter so you can reapply on the last turn of Tailwind, yes. But I think this sort of set works really, really well, and you can just match the EVs. It's easy to do it. You still want to be plus speed nature, so 91 base speed outspeeds all the base 90s. There's tons of popular base 90s as well. So this is just a good set on Murkrow. And again, I'll answer this for everyone in the back. The reason we use Murkrow over something like Honchkrow is Murkrow gets Prankster. Prankster boosts the power of your non-damaging moves, right? So we get to use priority Tailwind, and because if you change speed, it changes the second you change it. If I were to go Murkrow with like Gengar, Scizor, or Palafin, I immediately get the boost to my Tailwind, which means I can just KO things. So for example, if I have Murkrow and Volcarona, and you have a Corviknight, and you want to trade Tailwinds, and you want to allow Corviknight's teammate to outspeed my Volcarona, well, if I go Prankster Tailwind, my Volcarona immediately gets a speed boost, which means I can ignore your teammate and just KO their Corviknight before they get Tailwind. Now they don't have Tailwind, now they can't win the game. We still have Tailwind, we still have both our mons, and we're doing great. So that's the importance of that speed control and the dynamic speed control. There's not that much they can really do about it. So that's why I like this set. The Amoonguss. This is where things are going to get a little bit dicey. We're going to go eject button on this set. The reason we want the eject button is when we're using the Palafin, we can flip turn or just hard switch to the Amoonguss. They hit the Amoonguss. Remember, Palafin has weaknesses to things like electricity and grass. Amoonguss comes in and resists those two types. We soak just a little bit of damage, and the eject button activates, and we can go right back into our Palafin. It's great, and we even have the regenerator ability to be able to restore the health that we took on that hit. So very, very cool stuff. I think you still want the Clear Smog. I think having Pollen Puff is really good too, but I think realistically you want the Protect. You've got to have Protect on something with an eject button so you can use it correctly. You still have to have the Rage Powder. In my opinion, being able to Rage Powder an eject button and then repin something is still very, very good. It's a little bit higher of a skill ceiling, but it's very, very good. You still want the Spore. And in this situation, you can choose Pollen Puff or Clear Smog. Now, Clear Smog helps you in the Dozo matchup, but Pollen Puff helps you preserve the Palafin. And I like the Pollen Puff here. We already have the Haze Murkrow. You can just go for a Spore into a Dozo and just start chunking with a couple other things. We're also going to slightly tweak one of the other mons on the team to be able to correctly deal with Dozo. So you don't have to worry as much about Dozo, but it is still something. Also, Scizor is going to slightly be able to deal with Dozo. I think Scizor might be able to get some stuff done as well. But let's talk about the Gengar. I think Sash Gengar is really, really good. I think, though, Gengar can be... on your Sash mons, for sure, you definitely would like to have Protect. Being able to use Protect and bait your opponent into over-respecting certain mons is very, very important. I think Destiny Bond is very, very good on Gengar. This is one of our checks to Dozo. We can come in, soak a little bit of damage. When we know they're going to finally KO the Gengar, pop that Destiny Bond. And if you're really, really afraid of them going for like, well, they just hit my teammate. Well, a lot of our mons now have Protect, right? So we can just Protect with our teammates, make them hit the Gengar. You're good to go. And then I am a fan of, we're still keeping that Icy Wind. I think if you don't like the Icy Wind, you want to put something else on, be my guest. If you want to put Sludge Bomb or something, that's absolutely fine. I don't think we necessarily need it. I think Icy Wind Shadow Ball is good coverage. And then from there, this is the same thing. You want to add your nature. And then you could also even make the Destiny Bond easier to use. You could technically even take out your HP. You could technically take out your defense. You could technically take out everything. But, it doesn't really matter. Destiny Bond is more of a gimmick, but it does still definitely work on this team. I'm a big fan of Destiny Bond. You can also put, like, Will-O-Wisp and other things there, too, and give yourself a little bit more of a matchup. I think the EVs on this Amoonguss are fine. The EVs here are fine. The EVs here are fine. And I overall think that this is just a better version of the team. We're going to take a look at a couple Terras we can go for. Let's see. What are we really afraid of with this team? Let's take a look at some usage stats and see some very popular Pokemon that we might want to check. So if we take a look at usage stats here, we can see the most popular Pokemon is Goldango. So we have a bad matchup versus Goldango, so maybe we want to think about going with things that have a better matchup against Goldango. So maybe like, you can go Ghost Terra Scizor, and that's actually not bad because it avoids Fake Out, so that's an option. I don't recommend it. I think Fire Terra Scizor is going to be a little bit better. We can already hit Murkrow with Bullet Punches. We can already hit Garchomps with Bullet Punches. We can hit Hydreigons with Bullet Punches or U-Turns, and if they Terra into Terra Steel, we can hit Fire, so it's a second reason to go for Terra Fire Scizor. Amoongus's, we can technically U-turn them, but it's not great. We can just one-shot them with Terra Fire. Starting to see a little bit of a pattern here. Annihilate, we're okay against. Terra Fire is probably not that great here. Terra Fire is not that good against Armor Rouge. We're not really good against Armor Rouge. Meowscarada, we can technically U-turn, but also Terra Fire is great. I like the Terra Fire here because it allows Scizor to check things like King Gambit. Remember, we were rocking like close combat earlier for things like King Gambit. You can just Terra Fire those things if you have to. So it makes us... Now, I was thinking about going Terra Electric to deal with Dondozo, but I think the Terra Fire is probably just a little bit better. And against the Dondozo, I would just save the Murkrow in the back to let them go for the Dondozo tech, and then save the Murkrow, just haze it, spore it, and then win the game, basically. So we're going to go Fire Terra Scizor here, and we're going to finish up these EVs. 2v2, nothing wrong with doing 2v2. Scizor doesn't have that high of an HP stat, so you definitely want to lower that. You want to definitely increase that lower stat up to the same level. You do not need this much attack on Scizor. I think the most you'd ever want to go is a 144 plus, and then the rest of the stats can just be put in bulk. Now, we got to think about what's hitting Scizor, especially if we're going to be Terra Firing. Realistically, special attacks should be hitting Scizor. Things like Heat Waves are usually fire attacks. Scizor's going to be switching in a lot to cover up for Palafin, and so things like Hyper Voices, things like Palafin's are weak to are mostly special attacks like Grass attacks, electric attacks like Thunderbolts, Giga Drains, Energy Balls. Those are special attacks. So we actually just want to go for a 108. Remember, 108 is the right number. 104 is the other number that's... sorry, 104 doesn't get you anything. 112 doesn't get you anything. But 100 is the last little number that we get you anything. We put the last 4 in defense in this situation. So Scizor's going to be a lot bulkier. Still very strong. I'm still able to do the damage you need with Terra Blast. To be able to OHKO the right Mons. Like, I realistically think... We can just check it. We'll just check it. So let's go Scizor. Make sure we can actually still KO Amoonguss with this Terra Blast. We might need to put just a little bit more in attack, but we'll be making sure. So we're going to be Fire Terra Scizor. If I can... There we go. Fire Terra. So Terra Blast. We might need to put like 16 more points into the Scizor. We got 144 with an Adamant Nature. And we're going to be plugging in Amoonguss, because that's one of the mons we really want to get off the board. And so you can see, let's see, Terra Blast. I'm doing something wrong. Oh, it needs to be coded as physical. That's why. So that's not correct. It shouldn't be. It's not Terra. Oh, it's set as normal. That's why. I actually haven't really done many calcs with that yet. That seems to be incorrect, though. That should be doing more damage against Amoonguss. But I mean, at the very least, it's still a 2-shot. Even if they go full HP, it's still a 2-shot. So they can't switch in on it, which is fine. There's no way that we can actually even get the 1-shot. I just thought that would do more. Maybe I'm not doing the calc right, but either way, I think it's a good set. So what we're going to do now that we have all the mons the way that we want them, is we're going to play some games and see if we can actually get the team to work the way that I talked about it. We need to fix this. I think realistically, you could be using Gengar. I think Flying Gengar is a little bit better in some situations, but there's nothing wrong with like double dipping your Shadow Ball. But the reason why Flying Gengar is good, because it lets it like basically waste a Garchomp's time like once. They can go for like an EQ, you avoid it, and you can Icy. When this is our matchup to solve Scarf Chomp matchups, we can just Terra Fly, and they're like, oh no! And we just Icy Wind them, and then they're completely useless. They have to switch, but then we're still flying, which means they can lock themselves in a Rock Slide later. We can go for a Protect, weave in something like the Palafin or the Scizor, and just repin it. So I like the Terra Flying here. I like the Dark Terra here to be able to avoid Psychic attacks and block Pranksters. You want to be flying here, in my opinion. Oh no, Dark Terra is good, because we can double dip the Sucker Punch. Water Terra here is fine. I think you could also realistically think about going with like a completely different Terra and getting just a different defensive type. So like Grass Terra here could be good here too. Volcarona. Grass is okay here. I wish we had Giga Drain, but it's not important. And Fire Terra here. So these are fine. So let's go play some games and see if we can win some. All right, first matchup's Dozo. So we were talking about Dozo being a bit of a problem for the Murkrow. It puts a lot of stress on the Murkrow, but I do think we can get away with going like Amoonguss here. Amoonguss can Spore the Dozo. It can Spore a couple of those things. Can't Spore the Meowscarada, but I think Amoonguss is still a really, really good lead. I think Palafin can still be great. Murkrow's coming in the back, and I don't think we need Scizor to deal with Volk, but it's not bad. I think Scizor is good at checking Sylveon and checking Meowscarada, so I think that Scizor can still be good. So let's try this, and let's see how we do versus Dondozo Bozo. Waiting on them, so here we go. Hariyama, so they have Fake Outs up. So they have Fake Out, Hyper Voice. We're not afraid of that at all. They can Fire Terra here, but we're very, very bulky. So we're just going to go for... Let me actually think about that. Do we even want to Protect? I think there's nothing really wrong with protecting here. You Protect, and the reason we're protecting is because like next turn they're going to hit us and we're going to be able to immediately bring them what we want. Because they're going to go Hyper Voice here, knowing that they just hit this slot. We're just going to Protect and Hard Switch in the Scizor. So now we already have that active. And so whenever they decide to hit this, they're not ready for what happens. For Hyper Voice, we already talked about it. We talked about putting points in the Scizor to actually stop Hyper Voices. This is great. We're actually going to protect with Scizor this turn because they're probably going to Fire Terror here. And if they want to hit that slot and Fire Terror, we now are baiting them into Fire Terroring, and we can just reap him with Palafin. So we're just going to protect here. We're also letting ourselves get, there's a protector on that slot. This is great. This is absolutely fine. Absolutely, positively fine. They know that we got the Spore there. And so now what we can do, I really like this play as well, we just go Redirection. If you want to hit the Amoonguss, we get a free switch into our Palafin. And we also can just U-turn, then re-bring out our Amoonguss if we want. So it's a win-win in the situation. We're trying to see what they Terra into. But we're letting our leftovers get a lot of value here. Way more value than the Clear Amulet was giving us. And so we can pivot correctly. We can analyze the situation correctly. Like, I really, really like everything that's happening here. Like, both players are playing their teams to how they want to play them. It's, like, really, really good. So Ironhead, not that much damage. We have our Generator that's going to activate. We can then immediately reap him with either of these. Now, also, they showed Masquerada, which means the last one's going to be Volk. It's not going to be Dozo. So we actually don't need to go with anything spectacular here. We can also think about going Palafin and just double dipping that slot. We U-turned in here. So let's think about this. I think that Murkrow's going to be great here. U-turn, and we can then just bring in our Amoonguss again and go for more Redirection. Or we could go for, I think the Amoonguss is actually pretty solid. Let me think about that. Palafin's okay. I like the Palafin hard switch in Amoonguss actually a lot. Because what we're going to do is we're just going to Brave Bird this thing. Get the Hariyama off the board. Don't you need a Tailwind? It says it's this form, but it's zero to hero active right now. So I don't know why that Shodan does that, but it is what it is. Yep, we're just going to be using these mons as bait now. It's really, really good. And then next turn we can just go for the Brave Bird on the Masquerada as well. But we want to get the Hariyama off first, because like Guts Hariyama is like a big pain in the butt. Brave Bird, big damage. They can totally trick us here. They can totally trick us here. If they're Protein, they actually get hit by... Okay, that's correct. They shouldn't be Protein in that situation. So Volk's there. We already talked about that. So what we're going to do here in this situation, I think you want to get the Meowscarada off the board or do as much damage to it as possible, or at least just break Sash to put it within range for things like Bullet Punch and Jet Punch. And then we'll try to go for the Spore here into the Volk. They could be Safety Goggles. Absolutely no problem with Safety Goggles here. We don't want to go after the Meowscarada because it's still technically a Grass type. They can also Terra Grass their Volk here. Not that much we could really do about that. But I do like this play for us. Yes, they have their Trick 'em Up, but I don't think there's that much they can really do. We still have 4 mons that are great. That breaks Sash. That's exactly what we wanted to see. Spore into the Volk. That's another thing that we really like to see. That's the power of Amoonguss against Trick Room teams. You can totally go for knockoffs here. Absolutely, positively fine. We could even go for a Pollen Puff, recap off our Amoonguss, and just finish off that Masquerada, and then Spore the Sylveon and win the game. So I'm going to do that. Just a Protect. It's a good Protect. Good Protect. Love that for you. Absolutely amazing. We don't have to care about this Volk, I don't think, because like we have Palafin. Hey, you got a 1-turn sleep, yo. Mr. 1-turn sleep. That's a +1 and done again. Never ever lucky. Palafin's the right play here. They have that drop stat. We're gonna go for just another Brave Bird. We know we can take that out. And I think this is a good time to. We could flip turn again. I think flip turn will still get the KO against this guy. Or like, let's say they Grass Terra. We then go into Scizor to block it. And if they go to Sylveon, we just go to Scizor to switch it. Like, it's so good. It's so much damage. Like, isn't this the biggest pins you've, like, ever seen? Like, do you see how much more pressure this team brings to the table being able to pivot and how much more damage we can mitigate? It's all thanks to these defensive items. It's all thanks to these protects getting added. There's so many different things here. We can even fire... No, we did Terra this guy, right? We did Terra. I mean, that's still fine. Let's see. Last turn Trick Room, we can just go for a Protect if we want. We can't Protect here, but like what we can realistically do is just go Tailwind, Protect, and then go Bullet Punch, Jet Punch and win the game. Or Bullet Punch and yeah, Jet Punch is still good. Let's think about actually what we want to do here, because we don't want to get messed up too bad. Let's think about this. Don't need to Haze. Like, we still have to play the team correctly. I think the right play here is Sucker to be able to break Sash if they have it. Because we don't know where the Sash is. That guy's obviously going to go Terra. It was Fairy Terra. Rage Powder. Awesome. Hey, we don't break Sash, but that's fine. Hyper Voice does not do the damage it needs to do to Scizor. And so the cool thing about this as well is we're able to come in with Palafin. Palafin outspeeds the Scizor, right? Yep. So we're able to go for like a Jet Punch into this guy. Hopefully get the KO. And a Bullet Punch into the Sylveon. If you want to go for Rage Powder again, I don't know if they can actually eat this, but we're going to find out. How bulky are you? You're not bulky enough, and we have the correct mons to win the game. So hopefully you understand how this team can be played. I think this is so much smoother. We saw a bad matchup in the dozo. We saw Trick Room, which could potentially be a bad matchup, but all the pivots that this team has, like, this is the value that you can get for submitting teams for fixing. The team kept all 6 of the mons, but we really polished up the defensive synergy the team brings to the table. Weaving in these protects, utilizing, you know, I would say better Terras than the ones that were submitted, and, you know, playing a little bit of a longer game. Like, this is VGC. This is Pokemon. So if you guys like these changes, you want to submit a team for yourself, there is a link in the description. I would say, let me take a look, because I write them all down. There are 24 teams that I still have left to do. I'm going to be doing about 2 a day. But if you guys have a rental code you guys want to send me and have me fix in these sort of situations, definitely think about checking out the Patreon. We usually do this until the 2nd week of every single month, then we make a brand new post. So there's still time to submit teams, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Peace out, and I'll see you guys next time.